Bassam Sinno, business owner, and I work with, a lot with social activists concerning support for people who are really in need, especially these days. And I'm involved much in Thawra also. From day one, we had the tent and we started providing food for people. So this is mainly what we do.
Welcome Bassam, welcome Michel, welcome Khaled. To start with, Michel, you have a lot of experience with internationals coming to the country and leaving. What do you think is the effect of volunteers and different independent institutions that are coming to the country and trying to influence or trying to report a bit the experience of what's happening?
International volunteers coming to support in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Well, you have two phases to these interventions. The first phase is basically a positive one, where people bring in any kind of expertise or also whatever support, would it be material or manpower or whatever it is. So it definitely has a positive impact. When it comes to the negative impact it might have is when people try to have a certain knowledge that they might have developed in other countries or other places, and they don't have the understanding of the local culture, and there it can hurt bad. Like if they want to act in certain ways without understanding of the local culture, like bad example, but like the US tries to impose their own model of democracy in random places in the world.
I definitely agree on the part of the lack of understanding of the local context, and we see this on different levels, and not only on the intervention conducted by independent volunteers and initiatives, and they are very much appreciated, and we all need this kind of support and empathy around the world for the crisis that we are facing in Lebanon. But the lack of understanding of the local context is leading to.
But do we understand what's happening actually?
We need to analyze more our needs in this current context.
Because if we're calling to an international intervention, what should we be calling for, and in which areas should we have international intervention?
Okay, basically,
guys, it's a discussion between you.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, my own perception about international intervention. I saw the kind of questions that are usually being asked about: do we want the Security Council to impose, for example, some military intervention, economic intervention in Lebanon, to handle the political situation, to provide basic assistance for the Lebanese people? We need to understand first that any international intervention is a sort of a relationship between us, Lebanon as a country or as a people, and the exterior stakeholder that wants to intervene. And we should definitely know that we as an entity should be synchronized enough in order to understand our needs, to identify the gaps where we need support. Of course, we always need support. We cannot be an island away from all the other countries, but we need to understand us and analyze the gaps and needs in order to ask for the proper support, in order for this support not to transform into colonization, actually.
And I think the international community is more looking for its benefits than for looking for the Lebanese benefits. If they were really want to help Lebanon now, they should listen to the people. People want change, and so far they are only looking for their benefits with the government that is already corrupt, and nobody really cares for what they are looking for. So if the international community should start looking for leaders in Lebanon, and so should start trying to communicate with them, maybe they can find solutions in this way. But so far they are not looking for anything. They are still working with the corrupted government, and they are trying to support through them, which was not going to lead anywhere.
And a part of this,
Well, I'm going to rebound just to add a bit more on what Bassam said. I definitely agree. And if we think of how Lebanon was built historically, like going from back in the Ottoman days through the French Mandate, and how the Lebanese state was built, it is important to understand that the impact of the French intervention in the creation of Lebanon, they created on one hand the Lebanese institution, whether the army or everything related to the legal sector, or the legal code, all the public institutions that were created then, in a way that was positive. But when we see their impact on how they designed power and how they just took over whatever was done under the Ottoman Empire, and they kept this in place just in order to protect and serve their own interest in Lebanon and the region, you understand that it is quite impossible for the international community, whatever part it is, or at least for the countries, not the organizations, to do something without asking for a counterpart for that. What could be done is putting the international community, whether organizations or country, to contribution in certain sectors. But what has been started since October 17th, 2019, is a certain realization maybe that we need to handle ourselves. Like, we have to stop with expecting some international development, some international part to come and help us in getting rid of the political class, in handling the justice in Lebanon. It is essential for us to start understanding, I think that's my own belief, that we need to handle ourselves. We have a long way towards democracy. We have to start implementing accountability with ourselves, with our partners at work, in every single way. The simple expression of معلشي بسيطة خيرة بغيرة has to be eliminated from our everyday language. The معلشي should stop existing. عليشي. We haven't been through an explosion like the August 4th explosion, and now they could say معلشي, like, let it be.
Exactly.
We have to get accountable and ask for accountability. We as citizens, in understanding the democracy the way it should be, are held accountable as much as the politicians.
so you think justice should be local? Are we capable to bring justice to August 4th?
We have definitely seen that there are many bodies within Lebanon, to start with the syndicate of lawyers, for example, who are definitely able to do, like, I don't want to say miracles because they're not miracles, but they're capable to completely transform the justice sector, the legal sector. I know of a project that has been implemented with the support of the EU to digitalize all the files and the justice sector. And this project, I think, I don't want to give any numbers, but I think it has, the cost was around 25 million euros, and they weren't able to get anywhere. Like, it costs money. We don't implement all the way till the end. It's put somewhere in a drawer, and we forget about it. And when the new syndicate of lawyers was elected, the last one, they asked for volunteers to come, and they put a project together where they started digitalizing all the justice sector. We definitely can do a lot. There are some fields where we are not able to do, but we are definitely capable of running ourselves. We have to start believing that we are capable of this. That's where change starts.
I have a bit of something to say about this. About international intervention, especially in the justice sector, we have this concept in international affairs that called transitional justice. So transitional justice is basically several steps of reform that targets the judicial system, that targets the military and the institutions, that target social cohesion, that target education at some point. So and we have a lot of different experiences that happened in the past years with different countries that we should and we need to learn from them. For example, we see like the ad hoc tribunals created, like the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, the International Criminal Tribunal for former Yugoslavia. So we see basically, and I want to give specifically the example for Rwanda. We see that in Rwanda, after the genocide that happened in 1994, we see that there was an ad hoc international tribunal that were created, and it aimed to prosecute the criminals who were prosecuted for genocide, for war crimes, etc. We see that this international tribunal, with all the support and backup from the international community, could not offer any actual justice for the people of Rwanda.
International intervention have been failing all over.
Exactly. We have no precedent of a positive precedent of an international intervention on the judicial sector. We see that in Rwanda they created like this national community-based courts called gachachas. The gachachas basically prosecuted more than 10,000 criminals, where the International Criminal Tribunal could not prosecute 100 and could not reach them because of the international immunities and the international political context. What we need basically is to start building our own structure. We don't have any judicial system. The judicial system is so corrupted that it's not acceptable anymore. You cannot file a lawsuit, even in ordinary life.
Will we be able, in the context of Lebanon, to build strong justice?
We need to build.
What is needed? Because like talking about it is easy, but what is needed to change?
What is needed is to build it from scratch. The new judicial system in Lebanon. We need national judges, patriotic judges. We need to eliminate these sort of people.
We need to do is simply have the judiciary system without any influence of the politicians in Lebanon. But what's happening now is that politicians they usually come and appoint all the judges, and then the judge would be followers to these leaders. Till today, there is no independence in the judicial system in Lebanon, and that's why we have no. You can never reach anything in this
because
kind
of no accountability.
No,
Exactly.
Zero accountability. Yeah.
And the other thing is that also we have no trust in the international judge since what happened with Rafiq Hariri. The
We're
court.
been 15 years waiting for nothing at our
15
tax
years
money.
waiting, and we spent almost $1 billion, and then we reached nothing.
But just to add more to this, I think we can definitely build a judiciary system that works. It is not about the texts or about the structures. It's about the will of the people in power. If you get the best constitution ever, it will be very easy for people in power to corrupt it. And if you think of Ta'if as a bad constitution, they have corrupted it. But what have they implemented out of the constitution? What is implemented today out of the constitution? There are many sides of the Ta'if agreement, whether we like it or not, that have not been implemented. Like if we want to think of anarchy, yeah, we could say, okay, let's go from Ta'if to something else. Let's build a new constitution. And then you can say, okay, we have something that exists. Have we implemented this? If we have, what have we implemented? Where have we failed? Let's learn from our experience. And the same goes for the legal sector.
True, and especially I want to add to this that And for example, we definitely need some international help in terms of expertise in building our judicial system, and this sector is developing rapidly around the world. We have some new
Who
methods.
can we look for?
Practices. Yeah.
What do we look?
Who? Which country can we look at? Which
No,
institution in
it's
the
not
world?
about the country, it's about the systems. For example, terrorism was not, did not have any clear definition before the Special Tribunal for Lebanon under the national level. Even in the US, the Department of State has a definition for terrorism. The Pentagon has another definition because it's more of a politically used term than legally used term. So what we need is, and when the Special Tribunal for Lebanon came, we developed a new definition for terrorism, and it's the first one to be used with this international credibility around the world. So we have some expertise in Lebanon. We need some expertise, some systems, not countries. That
What happened in Italy with the mafiosa, we can use that as an example because they used to assassinate the judges that were on the trial, and then suddenly they had somebody who really came and was behind the change. We need good judges.
Because for the simple reason is that at some point some people got to power and they were not in partnership with the mafia. The mafia at some point the power and the mafia were basically sleeping in the same bed. Just like today,
our regime is the mafia.
The regime is the mafia, and everything, all the corruption is basically depending on the power. We can simply say that if I can think of one mission that the current political class has accomplished is basically completely dissolving any presence of the Lebanese institution, of the state itself. Whether we think about security and how basically instead of having the Lebanese army handling the defense of the borders, we have a militia that is in charge of this. Whether we think about education, or if we think about the power now, the water being supplied by water trucks, basically all that they did is basically to dissolve completely the state and its institutions. And that is why the current political class can no longer be here. They need to leave, not just to leave the institutions that they are in, but also they need to leave the country, or I think it will end badly.
We need as a people to stand behind good judge and support him all the way to be able to change. We need to find the real clean judges who are really willing to go all the way and change the whole system. And as a people and as a revolutionist, as a people in Lebanon who are still honest and not haven't been, or independent, you can say, I'm sure they are willing to stand behind these people and support them all the way.
What about now? What about August 4? There is no more time to wait for justice. People today are going on the ground and they want something different. They want us to step a bit up and try to give them a solution about who will bring them clarity over their dead friends and families. So what can we do for that? It's not just appointing a new judge or changing the system. What can we do now? For example, where's the military? Doesn't the military have its own judging system inside of its own institution that can be an example of what the country system could be? What have been the military doing for bringing safety for the country?
I don't know if you can hear me anymore. You cannot. Okay, so you can hear me now. So basically, I have two parts of the answer of an answer. At first, we're at extreme times that require basically extreme measures from us. So there is no trust in the current judicial system, definitely no trust in the current regime. So what we need to do is to transfer the power of accountability from the current judicial system to the people. The people need to understand that they need to hold the people in charge now accountable to their crimes. So we have no no support
So we'll
of
see
no
a
matter
people
what
court?
institution.
So we see a court created by the people
We
to
try,
prosecute.
we try to learn from the different experiences that happen around the world. For example, I gave an example about Rwanda that established 10,000 local courts,
So
community-based
what is
courts.
needed? What is needed right now for the people to create a court to bring justice for
What
August
people
4th?
need right now is to stop being lazy and ask for international intervention, the easy solution or the
You
solution
just said that international intervention is not the solution. It should be a local.
Exactly.
So-
We should
So
stop
locally,
being
how,
lazy.
how can we create a court that will bring justice for the victims of August 4th?
Locally, we don't have any institution that is able to bring these people to.
So
to,
what institution
for
is needed?
The people are needed, not any institution. We need to build a whole new society with its proper institutions, and we need to forget about the current regime because we cannot discuss anything with a regime that is ready to blow up. Half of Beirut was only a part of the nitrate that were included, yani, not a part, a small part. The reports of the FBI said 552 tons were involved in the explosion, where we knew that there were more than 2,000. So basically, the whole Beirut could have been destroyed. So we cannot discuss, we cannot have any constructive argument or discussion with the current regime.
Guys.
I
We really want the truth.
I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think the road to having justice and accountability in what happened on the 4th of August is going to take a long time. But at some point, we will try these people. Unfortunately, I don't think it will be easy. Maybe having internal quarrels within the political class will make it a bit more simple to have some people held accountable, knowing that many of them won't be held accountable. But it will only be over time that we will be able to try these people. And I am sure that I will not forget. No victim, no parents of victim of the people who have died on August 4th will ever forget these people. And sooner or later, they will face their fate. I'm not saying that we should catch them and hang them on
That's what
public
I'm
squares.
saying, actually. That's what I'm saying, and basically, these people should be prosecuted. Who's gonna bring justice? And if we're gonna wait in time, what time can bring us unless we take action? No state will interfere in order to, for example, to bring justice to the Lebanese people unless they have some benefits of it. We give for that, for example, the referendum of Crimea. We saw Russia that interfered, for example, and we give because it's very similar to what's happening here now. We saw that Russia interfered in Ukraine because she wanted the referendum of Crimea. Russia was not chasing the needs.
Just to make it.
What we need to do is we need solidarity between all
the
people.
Lebanese people.
Lebanese people have still are following their leaders. We need them to stop following leaders and start building their own society based on civil society. We need civil society.
But this doesn't solve the problem of truth.
Yeah,
We
the
need truth before
the-
justice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think we need to be a bit pragmatic.
Yeah.
In order to get the full truth on the August 4th explosion, it's going to take time, and probably a change in power that will probably help in bringing out a new judicial system with a proper investigation, and probably over time, once the regime has changed, once the political class that is currently ruling the country is out, then we will be able to find the truth. I think until then, even if they try to sell us some version where some people are indicted and some people are arrested, it will just still be a very partial truth.
So what if another event happened? What if another disaster happened?
exactly.
What if another crisis? So
That
one element is change of
unfortunately,
power.
we are still exposed to this, and that's why, I think that on the long term, if we really want to get out of this, and the transition towards this is basically working on two things: democracy and accountability, and they go together. Democracy and accountability. Hold the people in power accountable. Follow their families. They are all part. Like, it's not that someone is isolated and his wife or kids who are taking advantage of his situation are not held accountable. Everybody in their family, their businesses, everyone should be held accountable. And that's it. And moving towards democracy, electing new people, holding them accountable again.
The issue in Lebanon is that we are big fans of the conspiracy theories. So basically, there is a big conspiracy. That's why the port blew up. There is a big conspiracy. If we, for example, try to indict someone, we have 19. Legally, we have 19 sects in Lebanon. So whoever even in the prosecution period, we should get one Sunni, one Shia, one Maronite, one Rome Orthodox, in order to have justice for the Lebanese people. So this is not acceptable. What we need, it's not we all know who's in charge, who's responsible, but we all know who was in charge in the period when the nitrates went in, when the whole things happened. So basically, what we need is to bring these people down to the street and have popular prosecution to these people to start building our judicial
Once you
system.
stop saying this leader, my leader, your leader before my leader, we will never reach anywhere. We are still thinking of religious leaders. This leader is let's say Saad al-Hariri, for example, is my leader. So you should prosecute the other one before you start thinking of him. Always they are thinking of this way. If you stop thinking in this way and start, as Khaled said, focus on what these guys are accountable for, and start saying these guys should all be counted for what they have done as a crime, and we should get rid of all of them once and for all, and start rebuilding the country with the new people, people who have vision, who have knowledge, who have new ideas. Then we can move forward. But
there's one topic that's being as well discussed is whether the Lebanese army should continue existing or not, because it have failed to protect the citizen, it have harmed the citizen, and it have failed to be an institution that is taking our taxes and not doing anything about it. So what do you think, guys, to end the panel, what do you think of demilitarizing Lebanon for international protection?
Wow, that's a very big subject. I think, therefore I am. I'm kidding. It's a huge topic. Like, first of all, we have an army that is definitely not up to expectations. When we talk about how professional, we like to praise the army as being the sole body in Lebanon that is still united and bringing together everyone. It's nice, it's very folkloric, and it's very nice. But at the end of the day, let's talk about accountability again. It's just very simple to see the action of the army after the August 4th explosion, how they handled the matters. You had plenty of small NGOs, bigger NGOs, international NGOs, independent people who came on the ground to support people, taking pictures with their phone, having an application that was done within 48 hours to be efficient, really deal with things efficiently. And then you had the Lebanese army coming and writing, okay, what do I see here? I'm going to do this and that. And it's very sad to see the Lebanese army like this. If we really need to think about whether we want to demilitarize Lebanon or not, I think there are two steps. First of all, we need a professional army. Whether the army is used for protecting the Lebanese borders or for internal security purposes. And the second issue that we should definitely think of is about neutrality of Lebanon, and whether we can have full neutrality or positive neutrality or active neutrality. We cannot isolate ourselves from the Palestinian cause. There are many things that need to be thought of, and it's a very difficult subject.
Allow me to quote here great thinker of war. His name is Karl von Clausewitz. Clausewitz says to secure peace is to prepare for war. So basically, we have a lot of mechanisms used in order to provide transitional justice in cases like Lebanon, like like a mechanism or a tool developed by the UN called DDR, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. So usually it's used with the non-state combatants, but I don't think the solution is to demilitarize the Lebanese armed forces, but on the contrary, is to build a professional army like
Because they had enough funds to
enough
build
funds
the
and to
best and
eliminate
stop showing
the
the
political
videos.
affiliation of the big officers. It's
But
not
as Michel
accepted.
said, like honestly, in this time, you needed an institution that is most trusted in the country to act up, and we didn't see it acting up.
Its patriotic obligation. And
There is no
it's-
patriarchy and crime, you know.
If
It's
you
a
can't
crime.
Exactly. Your
if you
job
can't
is
feed
to
the army,
apply the
how
law.
can you expect them to fight?
But
You
they're
cannot
not
feed
fighting.
the
They've
army.
not been fighting, honestly. Like, when was the last fight for the army?
And small, the army.
They are always asking the army to go and fight the people in Tripoli, for example. You cannot expect the army, which is consists of let's say 45 or 50% of its people come from Akkar and Tripoli, to ask them to go fight people in Tripoli. You cannot ask people to go and fight their own people. This is why the army is not effective when it comes to this kind of way of thinking.
But who's responsible about telling us what happened in the port before any
Exactly.
institution else? Isn't the army responsible to tell
Of
us
course it
what
is.
happened in the port?
Yeah,
And what did the army do from then? What was their statements? What have they been doing except taking fake videos on the ground? Honestly, like we all saw it. We've been helping here, and we saw the army taking fake videos.
We
with
simply
Alexa.
have two armies in one country. We cannot deny it.
We have like
have
5-6 armies actually. I owe this institution a lot for my educational background, because as I mentioned before, I studied and I conducted my master's with the Lebanese army, and that's why I was exposed to the like standard operational procedure. I was familiar with the military movement in Lebanon, and
Did they execute
it's
it?
not acceptable. We have a lot of course, we have some patriotic officers that care about Lebanon and care about this as a nation. But we see the whole institution is moving. It will only do its job when no one of the affiliated politicians is might be upset. So if,
I will
for
give you an
example, if we
example,
commit a crime here, the military will come
What
up
happened-
and
What
and
happened
arrest
in
us.
Beirut airport last year was kind of you had two we have the army, and we had people from the Jamalek. They were fighting in the airport. So there's a lot of clash of interest between
Even
the
inside the
politicians, and
same
it turned
army.
out to be in the army. There's always somebody taking care of different matters, and trying to, let's say, the latest smuggling all over the borders with hundreds of thousands of fuel and food and medicine. They were getting out of Lebanon, which is really in need of. And the army was not doing anything because they had no power to do anything.
So in conclusion, we have a failed state that requires an international intervention. Yes or no?
that requires the people, its people's
Or its people.
intervention.
Yes.
The
By its
people of
people,
Lebanon
it's
should
Just
intervene.
to make it easier, I think, as I said about constitution, about laws, about texts, when you have someone who is rotten at the top, you cannot have institutions working properly. Like we think of the army, maybe we see it that it's not being efficient and that it's being corrupt, but basically the military is follow a certain hierarchy. And if from the top they tell them not to intervene in something, or if they want it if they want the army not to be efficient, it won't be efficient. Once again, it is very easy to corrupt when you're at the summit when you're on top.
We as
So basically, it's appointing. And so far in our discussion, we held a lot of corruption that is the cause of all our problem. So who's bringing the corrupted people on the top, and who's keeping it up? It's not us as citizens.
It's the clientism system that we follow in Lebanon. We need to forget about our own personal
What is
benefit.
the solution?
The solution
What
is
could
for
be a solution to bring a really professional, to fix the army, to really have accountability in public institutions that are here to serve the country? What's the solution? Not what's the problem, what's the solution?
I believe the solution is much more simpler than we believe, but it requires work on individual level, on the group level. I believe the solution is to start getting away from the clientism system that provide us as individuals or as small families with a temporary benefit that allows us to survive for a temporary period of time, and start following the hard route for a change, which is to have popular accountability. And we have,
how?
As a people, we need to come down to the streets, not in events and music as we saw and parades. We need to come to the streets in order to hold these people accountable. In our region, for example, I know the politicians of my region in Tripoli. Where do they live? We should, as people in
But
Tripoli,
this will not bring justice to the August of 4. What would really bring justice to the families of the victims?
to hold them
To the
accountable.
families
I'm
of
not
the
a family
victims.
member of a victim.
It is one step at a time, Michel. It will, unfortunately, it's as if you said, I'm sorry about the comparison, maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but it's as if you said, I want to go to Mars when you haven't been in the outer space yet. Like, it's one step at the time. If we have reached the moon at some point, we went in outer space, we reached the moon, now we are talking about going to Mars, but it's built one step at a time. And it's very important to have goals, but to keep it realistic, to be pragmatic with what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve. Right now, the best way to get somewhere is basically to put pressure on the people in power by pressuring them, their families, pushing further, and really trying to get them out of their power position in order someday to be able to hold them accountable.
I have a different way of solution. What I see is that people in Lebanon are actually divided into two categories. The first one, which is independent, and they have the idea to change. The second one is that people who are still with the parties. What we can do, this is a very small and closed society. What we can do is try to get these people they have the ideas of change, to start talking with their families, talking to their friends, and start convincing them that the only way to get the country back into its to get back into shape is to start thinking of changing these leaders. We have the only way to do it, because we cannot do it by weapons, we cannot do it by anything else except by convincing our friends, our families who are still connected to these people that they have to change. The other thing is what we have to do is also start trying to get these people to become independent, because if they are still getting their salaries, their money from these people, they will never change. But if they can become independent, they can always say, okay, we want to change now because we have no more interest in getting these people back. The other thing is also that we have to do in Lebanon. It's a very small society. We are only like 3-4 millions. We have to do it through election. I don't see anything else coming now. We have no way to fight with Hezbollah. We have no weapons. We have no strength to do that. So we have to work with the international community on getting the elections, the right elections, and the elections have nobody trying to corrupt it, and trying to get the people that we want as much as possible, the number as much as possible, to change, and
So
time by
maybe-
time we can do that.
Maybe, as you said, like the one place where the international community could have a positive intervention is making sure that the next elections that are held are elections that are representative of what the people want. And I know that it's not going to be in one term or two that we will have total change, but much rather one has to think that it's over 10, 15, 20 years that we can achieve change in in the political class.
So you believe if there should be an international intervention, it should be for controlling the elections and having fair elections?
That's the one thing where they could have a neutral intervention. And I'm
And what happens
saying
in,
neutral with like being measured about it. It's not always.
What happened with the engineers is a good example. It's a success story. People should build on it. When they were having the elections in Tripoli for the engineers, it was a big failure because they were so many groups. And then they came into Beirut. They all came together and they kind of made the one team, and they succeeded in a very nice way. We can do that with the parliament elections. We can do that with the elections with the Makhatir, with everything else, and we can build from now. As long as we, as Lebanese people, start thinking of one team to rebuild the country, we can do that. But as we start thinking of who can be who elected and how can I get myself elected instead of this guy or the other guy, we can never reach anything.
So basically election for justice.
Election for justice, election for rebuilding the country, and
Elections for change.
for a change, exactly.
My personal opinion is that we as Lebanese people, we need to stop being selfish, we stop being lazy. We should search for the
But I really
group benefit.
disagree anymore if tell us we're selfish and lazy. We're not selfish, we're not lazy. We're always on the ground. We're always
Of
everywhere.
course,
We're
of
always
course,
trying
but
to
we
bring
need to take
everything. So we're not selfish and
constructive.
lazy. Our systems are failed, and there is responsible for the system, whether it's our politicians, whether it's our own voting habits that we have built up throughout the time.
We need to take
But
care
we're
of
not lazy.
ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves with a more organized manner that can lead to actual accomplishment of objectives that we are seeking for. For example, we will get beating after some hours now.
We never know. We never know. We cannot assume
Usually that's what happened. That's what happens. And we will get beating in a while, and no actual accountability is held. We will still get beating every day, and we will still face, and we will still go to the ground. But we need more constructive milestones. We need some clear objectives. We need to transfer the power of accountability from this corrupt regime, start trying to negotiate with them, and go to the ground and try to accomplish justice.
Thank you guys. Bassam, Mishu,
Thank you.
Khaled, thank you for this.
Thank you for
Thanks.
this opportunity.
Welcome.
Thank you.
كيف كان حاسس حالي كنت بمحمصة